discuss Maurice Dobb's and Guy Bois' views on the debate on transition, from feudalism to capitalism.
Maurice Dobb and Guy Bois are two prominent historians who have contributed significantly to the debate on the transition from feudalism to capitalism. Their views provide different perspectives on how this transition occurred and what factors were most influential. Maurice Dobb's views. Maurice Dobb, a Marxist historian, emphasized the internal contradictions and class struggles within feudalism as the primary drivers of the transition to capitalism. His key points include 1. Internal conflicts and class struggles. Dobb argued that the inherent conflicts between feudal lords and peasants, along with the exploitation of the peasantry, created significant tensions within the feudal system. These conflicts eventually led to the breakdown of feudal relations and the rise of capitalist modes of production. 2. Economic factors. Dobb focused on the economic transformations within the feudal system, such as the development of market relations, the growth of trade, and the accumulation of capital by merchants and landlords. He believed these economic changes laid the groundwork for capitalism. 3. Transformation in agricultural practices. Changes in agricultural techniques and the commercialization of agriculture were seen as crucial in facilitating the transition. The shift from subsistence farming to market-oriented production increased productivity and created a surplus that could be invested in other economic activities. 4. Decline of feudal obligations. The decline of feudal obligations and the increasing use of wage labor were seen as critical steps toward capitalism. As peasants gained more freedom and moved towards wage labor, the feudal system weakened and capitalist relations began to emerge. Guy Bois' views. Guy Bois, while also analyzing the transition from feudalism to capitalism, provided a broader historical and sociological perspective. His key points include 1. Structural changes in society. Bois emphasized the broader structural changes in medieval society, including shifts in social relations, the decline of the feudal aristocracy, and the rise of new social classes. He argued that these changes were essential in understanding the transition. 2. Economic diversification. Bois highlighted the diversification of the medieval economy, including the development of new crafts, industries, and trade networks. He believed that the growth of towns and the expansion of commerce played a significant role in undermining feudal structures. 3. Technological and organizational innovations. Technological advancements, such as the use of the heavy plow, three-field crop rotation, and improvements in transportation, were seen as crucial in increasing agricultural productivity and supporting economic growth. 4. Political and cultural factors. Bois also considered political and cultural factors, such as the centralization of state power, the role of the church, and changes in legal and institutional frameworks. He argued that these factors were intertwined with economic changes and played a significant role in the transition. Comparison and differences. 1. Economic versus structural focus. Dobb primarily focused on economic factors and class struggles within the feudal system, while Bois took a more comprehensive approach, considering social, political, and cultural changes alongside economic transformations. 2. Internal versus external drivers. Dobb emphasized internal contradictions within feudalism as the main drivers of the transition, whereas Bois highlighted a combination of internal and external factors, including technological innovations and the expansion of trade. 3. Marxist versus multidisciplinary approach. Dobb's analysis was rooted in Marxist theory, focusing on class struggle and economic exploitation. Bois, on the other hand, adopted a multidisciplinary approach, incorporating insights from sociology, economics, and history to provide a more holistic understanding of the transition. In conclusion, Maurice Dobb and Guy Bois provided valuable but differing perspectives on the transition from feudalism to capitalism. Dobb's Marxist approach emphasized economic factors and class struggles, while Bois offered a broader, multidisciplinary perspective that included social, political, and cultural dimensions. Together, their analyses contribute to a deeper understanding of this complex historical process.
Discuss the nature of the early print culture as it developed in the early modern Europe.
The development of print culture in early modern Europe was a significant historical event that profoundly impacted many aspects of society, politics, religion, and science. Its beginning is attributed to the invention of the printing press by Johannes Gutenberg around 1440. The main features of early print culture are as follows. 1. Dissemination of knowledge and information. The invention of the printing press accelerated the production of books and other written materials, leading to the widespread dissemination of knowledge and information. This increased the availability of books and made them affordable to a broader audience. 2. Religious Reformation. The printing press played a crucial role in the Reformation. Martin Luther's 95 Theses, published in 1517, were widely circulated through the printing press, helping to spread the ideas critical of the Catholic Church. 3. Development of literature and culture. Print culture significantly contributed to the development of literature and culture. Works by writers like Shakespeare reached a wide readership, leading to the rise of a literary culture. 4. Science and research. The printing press facilitated the dissemination of scientific discoveries and research. Scientific books and journals were published, promoting the exchange of ideas within the scientific community and paving the way for the scientific revolution. 5. Education and literacy. Early print culture promoted education and literacy. The increased availability of books made education more accessible and led to higher literacy rates. 6. Spread of political ideas. Political ideas and theories also spread through print culture. The works of political thinkers like John Locke and Thomas Hobbes were widely disseminated, contributing to the development of modern political thought. 7. Censorship and control. With the development of print culture, governments and religious institutions attempted to control and censor printed materials. Efforts were made to suppress the spread of various ideologies and political ideas. 8. Printing trade and economic impact. The printing press promoted the development of the printing trade and related industries. The production of paper, bookbinding, and distribution networks grew, significantly contributing to the European economy. Conclusion. The development of print culture in early modern Europe was a revolutionary event that transformed many aspects of social, religious, cultural, scientific, and political life. Its impact was far-reaching and lasting, playing a crucial role in laying the foundations of modern society.
Comment on the nature of early plantation economies.
Early plantation economies, which developed primarily from the 16th to the 18th centuries in the Americas, the Caribbean, and Asia, were largely dependent on the production of single cash crops that were exported to European and other markets. Key characteristics. 1. Dependence on single crops. Plantation economies were primarily based on the production of single crops such as sugarcane, tobacco, coffee, cotton, and tea. These crops were in high demand in European markets and were exported on a large scale. 2. Labor system. To meet the labor demands of plantations, African slaves were extensively used. The slave trade provided cheap and abundant labor, reducing production costs and increasing profits. 3. Exploitation of land and resources. Large tracts of land were required for plantations. The maximum exploitation of local resources, including land, water, and other natural resources, was undertaken. 4. Production methods. Scientific and technical methods were used for agricultural production on plantations. Techniques such as irrigation systems, crop rotation, and fertilizers were employed. 5. Economic inequality. Plantation economies were highly unequal. A few European owners controlled vast wealth and production, while the majority of workers faced poverty and exploitation. 6. Impact on local communities. Plantation economies disrupted local communities and their traditional agricultural systems. There was a profound impact on local culture, social structures, and the economy. Conclusion. Early plantation economies were a significant feature of the colonial era. They contributed greatly to global trade, but also brought about social and economic inequality, environmental damage, and cultural destruction. The effects of these economies are still evident in the regions where they were established.
Discuss the nature of rise in prices in the early modern Europe.
The rise in prices in early modern Europe, 15th to 18th centuries, known as the Price Revolution, was a significant economic phenomenon. This period is marked by long-term and widespread price increases throughout Europe. There were several causes and effects of this rise, impacting the economy and society of the time. Major causes. 1. Increase in supply of gold and silver. The discovery of the New World, Americas, and the expansion of colonialism led to the influx of large amounts of gold and silver into Europe. Spain and Portugal, in particular, extracted vast quantities of gold and silver from the Americas, resulting in a significant increase in the money supply. 2. Population growth. There was a notable increase in Europe's population during the 15th and 16th centuries. More people meant higher demand for food and consumer goods, leading to price increases. 3. Expansion of trade and commerce. The expansion of global trade boosted commercial activities in Europe. The growing demand for imported goods and the expansion of trade routes also contributed to the rise in prices. 4. Wars and military spending. Continuous wars and military campaigns during this period led to increased government expenditures, requiring more funds. This resulted in higher currency circulation and increased inflation. Major effects. 1. Inflation. There was a general rise in the prices of goods and services. Agricultural products, groceries, clothing, and other consumer items became more expensive. 2. Wages and living standards. Despite the rise in prices, wages did not increase proportionally. This led to a decline in the living standards of common workers and the poor. Their purchasing power decreased, and they faced hardships. 3. Social inequality. The rise in prices exacerbated social inequality. Wealthy landlords and merchants benefited, while poor farmers and laborers suffered. 4. Changes in economic policies. The price rise necessitated changes in economic policies and management. Governments adopted new policies to control inflation and maintain monetary stability. Conclusion. The rise in prices in early modern Europe was a complex and multifaceted phenomenon that profoundly impacted European society and economy. The causes and effects of this event are still considered important in the study of economic history, as they played a crucial role in the development of modern economic theories and policies.
Comment on the nature of impact Reformation had on early modern Europe.
The Reformation in early modern Europe had a profound and multifaceted impact. Beginning in the 16th century, this religious movement, led notably by Martin Luther, challenged the religious, political, and social powers of the Catholic Church and led to the establishment of new Protestant denominations. It changed the religious, social, political, and cultural life of Europe in several ways. Religious impact. 1. Rise of Protestant denominations. The Reformation paved the way for the division of the Catholic Church and the formation of several new Protestant sects, such as Lutheranism, Calvinism, and the Anglican Church. This increased religious diversity in Europe. 2. Religious freedom and personal belief. The Reformation emphasized individual conscience and freedom in religious belief. People were encouraged to read and interpret the scriptures for themselves, making religious experience more personal. Social impact. 1. Education and literacy. The Reformation placed a strong emphasis on education and literacy so that individuals could read the Bible themselves. This led to the establishment of more schools and universities and increased literacy rates among the general populace. 2. Changes in society. The movement created religious differences among various social classes, leading to social tension and conflict. New concepts of religious tolerance and coexistence also emerged. Political impact. 1. Redistribution of political power. By challenging the political power of the Catholic Church, many European kings and rulers adopted religious reforms in their territories and took control of church properties and rights. This increased state power and led to the formation of national churches. 2. Religious wars and conflicts. The Reformation led to several religious wars and conflicts in Europe, such as the 30 Years' War, 1618 to 1648, which affected the entire continent and changed the political landscape. Cultural impact. 1. Artistic and cultural changes. The Reformation brought changes in religious art and music. Protestant churches encouraged simpler and more personal religious art, while the Catholic Church promoted Baroque art during the Counter-Reformation. 2. Changes in moral and religious ideology. The Reformation altered moral and religious ideologies. Attitudes towards work and business changed, contributing to the development of capitalism. Conclusion. The impact of the Reformation on early modern Europe was broad and deep. It transformed religious beliefs, social structures, political powers, and cultural perceptions. The Reformation marked a significant turning point in European history and played a crucial role in laying the foundations of modern European society.
Renaissance.
The Renaissance, spanning from the 14th to the 17th century, was a cultural, artistic, scientific, and ideological movement that followed the medieval period in Europe. Originating in Italy, it gradually spread across Europe. The main aim of the Renaissance was to revive the art, literature, and knowledge of ancient Greek and Roman civilizations. During this period, great artists and philosophers such as Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, and Raphael made significant contributions. This era is also known for its scientific discoveries, new artistic techniques, and the development of humanist ideas.
The print culture in early modern Europe.
The development of print culture in early modern Europe began with Johannes Gutenberg's invention of the printing press in the 15th century. This made the production of books and written materials cheaper and faster. Print culture promoted the dissemination of knowledge and information, leading to increased education and literacy rates. During the Reformation, works like Martin Luther's 95 Theses spread rapidly, bringing about religious and social changes. Print culture also had a significant impact on science, politics, and literature, accelerating the exchange of ideas and fostering innovation.
Paul Sweezy on trade and decline of feudalism.
According to Paul Sweezy, there was a significant relationship between the expansion of trade and the decline of feudalism. He argued that the expansion of commercial activities and urbanization in the 14th and 15th centuries weakened the feudal structure. The development of trade created new sources of wealth that were not dependent on feudal landlords. This gave rise to a new entrepreneurial class, the bourgeoisie, that gained economic and political power. Sweezy believed that the development of a market economy, the circulation of money, and a wage labor system challenged the self-sufficiency and subordination characteristic of feudalism. This economic transformation gradually dismantled the structure and power of feudal society.
The concept of calling in the early modern Europe.
The concept of calling in early modern Europe was a religious and social doctrine that emphasized each individual's duty to establish their place in society and fulfill their responsibilities in a manner determined by God. This idea was particularly associated with the development of Protestantism, where personal faith and work were prioritized. It was believed that each person had a calling or vocation ordained by God, through which they dedicated themselves to their work and fulfilled their duties within society. This concept fostered a universal understanding and sense of dedication in religious communities, emphasizing a commitment to one's role in society as a form of spiritual devotion and service. The notion of calling contributed to shaping early modern European societies by reinforcing the idea of individual responsibility and purposeful living aligned with religious principles. It encouraged a sense of moral duty and self-sacrifice, influencing both personal conduct and societal norms during this period.
Features of Western absolutism.
Western absolutism, characterized by centralized state authority and sovereignty, had several distinct features. 1. Centralized power. Absolutism concentrated political power in the hands of monarchs, who exercised authority without constitutional constraints or checks from representative bodies. 2. Divine right of kings. Monarchs claimed legitimacy through the belief in the divine right to rule, asserting that their authority was derived directly from God and not subject to questioning by earthly institutions. 3. Bureaucratic administration. Absolutist states developed complex bureaucratic systems to administer territories efficiently, relying on appointed officials to implement policies and collect taxes. 4. Control over nobility. Monarchs reduced the influence and autonomy of the nobility, centralizing control over military forces and bureaucratic appointments to ensure loyalty and prevent challenges to royal authority. 5. Mercantilist economic policies. Absolutist states pursued mercantilist economic policies, aiming to accumulate wealth through trade monopolies, tariffs, and state-sponsored industries, thereby strengthening national economies. 6. Cultural patronage. Absolutist monarchs often supported the arts and sciences, fostering cultural achievements as a means of enhancing prestige and asserting cultural dominance. 7. Limited religious toleration. While some absolutist states allowed limited religious toleration, others maintained strict control over religious affairs to prevent dissent and ensure ideological conformity. 8. Absence of constitutional constraints. Unlike constitutional monarchies, absolutist states lacked formalized constitutions or legal frameworks that would limit the authority of the monarch, resulting in unchecked power. These features collectively defined Western absolutism as a political system characterized by centralized authority, monarchic control over state affairs, and efforts to consolidate power and stability through administrative, economic, and cultural means.